SH 21-76, United States Army, Ranger Handbook. Not for the weak or faint-hearted. Let the enemy come till he is almost close enough to touch, then let him have it and jump out and finish him with your hatchet. Major Robert Rogers, 1759. Ranger Training Brigade, United States Army Infantry School, Fort Benning, Georgia, February 2011. Ranger Creed. Recognizing that I volunteered as a ranger, fully knowing the hazards of my chosen profession, I will always endeavor to uphold the prestige, honor, and high esprit de corps of the Rangers. Acknowledging the fact that a ranger is more elite soldier who arrives at the cutting edge of battle, land, sea, or air, I accept the fact that as a ranger, my country expects me to move further, faster, and fight harder than any other soldier. Never shall I fail my comrades. I will always keep myself mentally alert, physically strong, and morally straight, and I will shoulder more than my share of the task, whatever it may be. 100% and then some. Gallantly will I show the world I am a specially selected and well-trained soldier. My courtesy to superior officers, neatness of dress, and care of equipment shall set the example for others to follow. Energetically will I meet the enemies of my country. I shall defeat them on the field of battle, for I am better trained and will fight with all my might. Surrender is not a ranger word. I will never leave a fallen comrade to fall into the hands of the enemy, and under no circumstances will I ever embarrass my country. Readily will I display the intestinal fortitude required to fight on to the ranger objective and complete the mission, though I be the lone survivor. Standing orders, Rogers Rangers, Major Robert Rogers, 1759. Number 1, don't forget nothing. Number 2, have your musket clean as a whistle, hatchet scoured, 60 rounds of powder and ball, and be ready to march at a minute's warning. Number 3, when you're on the march, act the way you would if you was sneaking up on a deer. See the enemy first. Number 4, tell the truth about what you see and what you do. There's an army depending on us for correct information. You can lie all you please when you tell other folks about the Rangers, but don't never lie to a ranger or officer. Number 5, don't never take a chance you don't have to. Number 6, when we're on the march, we march single file, far enough apart so one shot can't go through 2 men. Number 7, if we strike swamps or soft ground, we spread out abreast so it's hard to track us back. Number 8, when we march, we keep moving till dark so as to give the enemy the least possible chance at us. Number 9, when we camp, half the party stays awake while the other half sleeps. Number 10, if we take prisoners, we keep them separate till we have had time to examine them so they can't cook up a story between them. Number 11, don't ever march home the same way. Take a different route so you won't be ambushed. Number 12, no matter whether we travel in big parties or little ones, each party is to keep a scout 20 yards ahead, 20 yards on each flank, and 20 yards in the rear, so the main body can't be surprised and wiped out. Number 13, every night you'll be told where to meet if surrounded by a superior force. Number 14, don't sit down to eat without posting sentries. Number 15, don't sleep beyond dawn. Dawn's when the French and Indians attack. Number 16, don't cross a river by a regular ford. Number 17, if someone's trailing you, make a circle, come back onto your own tracks, and ambush the folks that aim to ambush you. Number 18, don't stand up when the enemy's coming against you. Kneel down, lie down, hide behind a tree. Number 19, let the enemy come till he's almost close enough to touch. Then let him have it and jump out and finish him with your hatchet. Ranger History. The history of the American Ranger is a long and colorful saga of courage, daring, and outstanding leadership. It is the story of men whose skills in the art of fighting have seldom been surpassed. Only the highlights of their numerous exploits are told here. Rangers mainly performed defensive missions until during King Philip's War of 1775. Benjamin Church Company of Independent Rangers from Plymouth Colony conducted successful raids on hostile Indians. In 1756, Major Robert Rogers of New Hampshire recruited 9 companies of American colonists to fight for the British during the French and Indian War. Ranger techniques and methods of operation inherently characterized the American frontiersmen. Major Rogers was the first to capitalize on them and incorporate them into the fighting doctrine of permanently organized fighting force. The method of fighting used by the 1st Rangers was further developed during the Revolutionary War by Colonel Daniel Morgan, who organized a unit known as Morgan's Riflemen. According to General Burgoyne, Morgan's men were the most famous corps of the Continental Army, all of them crack shots. Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox, organized another famous Revolutionary War Ranger element known as Marion's Partisans. Marion's Partisans, numbering anywhere from a handful of several hundred, operated both with and independent of other elements of General Washington's army. Operating out of the Carolina swamps, they disrupted British communications and prevented the organization of loyalists to support the British cause. Sustain, sustain, sustainability, sustainably contributing, substantially contributing to the American victory. The American Civil War was again the occasion for the creation of special units such as Rangers. John S. Mosby, a master of the prompt and skillful use of cavalry, was one of the most outstanding Confederate Rangers. He believed that by resorting to aggressive action, he could compel his enemies to guard 100 points. He would then attack one of the weakest points and be assured numerical superiority. With the America's entry into the Second World War, Rangers came forth to add to the pages of history. Major William O. Darby organized and activated the 1st Ranger Battalion on June 19, 1942, at Crackerfergus, North Ireland. The members were all hand-picked volunteers. 50 participated in the gallant Deputy raid on the northern coast of France with British and Canadian commandos. The 1st, 3rd, and 4th Ranger Battalions participated with the distinction in the North African, Sicilian, and Italian campaigns. Darby's Rangers battalions spearheaded the 7th Army, landing at Gila and Licata during the Sicilian invasion and played a key role in the subsequent campaign, which ended in the capture of Messina. They infiltrated German lines and mounted an attack against Christina, where they virtually annihilated an entire German parachute regiment during close-in night bayonet and hand-to-hand fighting. The 2nd and 5th Ranger Battalions participated in the D-Day landings in Omaha Beach, Normandy. It was during the bitter fighting along the beach that the Rangers gained their official motto. As the situation became critical on Omaha Beach, the division commander of the 29th Infantry Division stated that the entire force must clear the beach and advance inland. He then turned to Lieutenant Colonel Mark Stridner, commander of the 5th Ranger Battalion, and said, "Rangers, lead the way." The 5th Ranger Battalion spearheaded the breakthrough. This enabled the Allies to drive inland away from the invasion beaches. The 6th Ranger Battalion, operating in the Pacific, conducted Ranger-type missions behind enemy lines. These missions involved reconnaissance and hard-hitting long-range raids. These Rangers were the first American group to return to the Philippines, destroying key coastal installations prior to the invasion. A reinforced company from the 6th Ranger Battalion formed the rescue force that liberated American and Allied POWs from the Japanese prison camp at Cabanatuan. Another Ranger-type unit was the 5307th Composite Unit Provisional, organized and trained as a long-range penetration unit for employment behind enemy lines in Japanese-occupied Burma. The unit commander was Brigadier General, later Major General, Frank D. Merrill. Its 2,997 officers and men became popularly known as Merrill's Marauders. The men of Merrill's Marauders were volunteers from the 5th, 154th, and 33rd Infantry Regiments, and from other infantry regiments engaged in combat in the Southwest and South Pacific. These men responded to a call from Chief of Staff General George C. Marshall for volunteers for a hazardous mission. These volunteers were to have a high state of physical ruggedness and stamina and were to come from jungle-trained and jungle-tested units. Before joining the Northern Burma campaign, Merrill's Marauders trained in India under British Major General Ord C. Wingate from February to June 1943. They learned long-range penetration tactics and techniques like those developed and first employed by General Wingate. The operations of the Marauders were closely coordinated with those of the Chinese 22nd and 38th Divisions in a drive to recover northern Burma and clear the way for the construction of Leoto Road, which was a link to the Indian railhead. At Leoto, while the old Burma Road to China. The marauders marched and fought through jungle and over mountains from Harunk Valley in northwest Burma to Makina and the Irodway River. In 5 major and 30 minor engagements, they met and defeated the veteran soldiers of the Japanese 18th Division. Operating in the rear of the main force of the Japanese, they prepared the way for the southward advances of the Chinese by disorganizing supply lines and communication. The climax of the Marauders' operation was the capture of Makitina Airfield, the only all-weather strip in northern Burma. This was the final victory of Merrill's Marauders, which disbanded in August of 1944. Remaining personnel merged into the 475th Infantry Regiment, which fought its last battle on February 3rd and 4th, 1945, in Loikwang Ridge, China. This infantry regiment is the father of the 75th Ranger Regiment. Soon after the Korean War started in June 1950, the 8th Army Ranger Company was formed of volunteers from American units in Japan. The company was trained in Korea and distinguished itself in combat during the drive to the Yalu River, performing tasks forced and spearheaded operations. During the massive Chinese intervention of November 1950, the small, vastly outnumbered unit withstood 5 enemy assaults on its position. In September 1950, a DA message called for the volunteers to train as airborne rangers. 5,000 regular Army paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division volunteered. 900 were chosen from the first 8 airborne ranger companies. 9 more companies were formed from regular Army and National Guard Infantry Division volunteers. These 17 airborne ranger companies were activated and trained at Fort Benning, Georgia. Most received training in the Colorado Mountains. In 1950 and 1951, some 700 men of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 8th Airborne Ranger Companies fought to the front of every American infantry division in Korea, attacking by land, water, and air. These 6 Ranger companies raided, penetrated, and ambushed North Korean and Chinese forces. They were the first Rangers to make combat jumps. After the Chinese intervention, these Rangers were the first Americans to recross the 38th parallel. The 2nd Airborne Ranger Company was the only African American Ranger unit in the history of the American Army. The men of the 6 Ranger companies who fought in Korea paid the bloody price of freedom. 1 in 9 of this gallant brotherhood died on the battlefields of Korea. Other airborne ranger companies led the way while serving with infantry divisions in the U.S., Germany, and Japan. These volunteers fought as members of the line infantry units in Korea. They volunteered for the Army, the Airborne, the Rangers, and for combat. The first men to earn and wear the coveted Ranger tab. These men are the original Airborne Rangers. One Ranger, Don Porter, received the Medal of Honor posthumously. 14 Korean War Rangers rose to general officer. Dozens more became colonels, senior NCOs, and civilian leaders. In October of 1951, the Army Chief of Staff, General J. Lawton Collins, directed that Ranger training extend to all Army combat units. He directed the commandant of the infantry school to establish a Ranger department. This new department would develop and conduct a Ranger course of instruction. His goal was to raise the standard of training in all combat units. This program built on lessons learned from World War II and the Korean conflict. During the Vietnam conflict, 14 Ranger companies consisting of highly motivated volunteers serving with distinctions from the Mekong Delta to the DMZ, assigned to separate brigade divisions and field force units. They conducted long-range reconnaissance and exploitation operations into the enemy-held areas. They provided valuable combat intelligence, initially designated as Long-Range Reconnaissance Patrol, LARP. The Long-Range Patrol, LRP companies, used these units were later designated as C through P. There is no Juliet Company, Rangers 75th Infantry. After Vietnam, the Army Chief of Staff, General Abrams, recognized the need for a highly trained and highly mobile reaction force. He activated the 1st Battalion, C-sized Ranger units since World War II, the 1st and 2nd Battalions, Ranger 75th Infantry. The 1st Battalion trained at Fort Benning, Georgia, and was activated February 8, 1974, at Fort Stewart, Georgia. The 2nd Battalion was activated on October 3, 1974. The 1st Battalion is now based at Hunter Army Airfield, Georgia. The 2nd Battalion is based at Fort Lewis, Washington. General Abrams' farsighted decision and the combat effectiveness of the Rangers battalions were proven in the U.S. invasion of Grenada, Operation Urgent Fury, October 1983. The mission was to protect American citizens and restore democracy. The Ranger battalions lead the way with a daring low-level airborne assault from 500 feet to seize the airfield at Point Salines. They continued operations for several days, eliminated pockets of resistance, and rescuing American medical students. Due to this success, in 1994, DA increased the strength of the Ranger units to their highest levels in 40 years. To do this, it activated another Ranger Battalion, as well as Ranger Regimental Headquarters. After these units, the 3rd Ranger Battalion, Ranger 75th Infantry, and Headquarters Company Ranger 75th Infantry were activated. There were over 2,000 soldiers assigned to Ranger units on February 3, 1986. The 75th Infantry was renamed the 75th Ranger Regiment. On December 20, 1989, the 75th Ranger Regiment was again called to show its effectiveness in combat for the first time since reorganizing in 1984. The regimental headquarters and all 3 Ranger battalions deployed together during Operation Just Cause in Panama. The 75th Ranger Regiment spearheaded the assault into Panama by conducting airborne assaults on the Toronto and Tucumán Airport and Rio Hato Airfield. Their mission to facilitate the restoration of democracy in Panama and to protect the lives of the American citizens. Between December 20th, 1989 and January 7th, 1990, the regiment performed many of the following missions in Panama. Early in 1991, elements of the 75th Ranger Regiment deployed to Saudi Arabia in support of Operation Desert Storm. In August 1993, elements of the 75th Ranger Regiment deployed to Somalia in support of Operation Restore Hope and returned November 1993. In 1994, elements of the 75th Ranger deployed to Haiti in support of Operation Uphold Democracy. In 2000 to 2001, elements of the 75th Ranger Regiment deployed to Kosovo in support of Operation Joint Guardian. Since September 11, 2001, the 75th Ranger Regiment has led the way in the global war on terrorism. In October 2001, elements of the 75th Ranger Regiment deployed to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. In March 2003, elements of the regiment deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. This performance of the Rangers significantly contributed to the overall success of these operations and upheld the Ranger traditions. As in the past, the regiment stands ready to execute its mission to conduct special operations in support of the United States policies and objectives. Ranger Medal of Honor recipients: Millett Lewis L. Sr., Captain, February 7, 1951, Company Echo, 2nd of the 27th Infantry. Porter Don F., awarded posthumously, Sergeant, September 7, 1952, Company Golf, 2nd of the 14th Infantry. Ms. Ola L., Sergeant, June 10th to 11th, 1953, Company Kilo, 3rd of the 15th Infantry. Dolby David C., Staff Sergeant, May 21, 1966, Company Bravo, 1st of the 8th Airborne Cavalry. Foley Robert F., Captain, November 5, 1966, Company Alpha, 2nd of the 27th Infantry. Zababoski Fred M., Staff Sergeant, February 19, 1968, 5th Special Forces. Bucha Paul W., Captain, May 16 to 19, 1968, Company Delta, 3rd of the 187th Infantry. Rabel Lazo, awarded posthumously, Staff Sergeant, November 13, 1968, 74th Infantry LRP. Howard Robert L., Sergeant First Class, December 30, 1968, 5th Special Forces. Law Robert D., awarded posthumously, Specialist 4, February 22, 1969, Company First of Company India, 75th Ranger Infantry Ranger. Curry J. Robert, Lieutenant, March 14, 1969, SEAL Team 1. Doane Stephen H., awarded posthumously, First Lieutenant, March 25, 1969, Company Bravo, 1st of the 5th Infantry. Perdine Robert J., awarded posthumously, Staff Sergeant, November 22nd, 1969. Company Golf, 75th Ranger. Littrell Gary L., Sergeant First Class, April 4th to 8th, 1970, Advisory Team 2021, Ranger. Lucas Andre C., awarded posthumously, Lieutenant Colonel, July 1st to the 23rd, 1970, Headquarters Company, 2nd of the 506 Infantry. Gordon Gary I., awarded posthumously, Master Sergeant, October 3rd, 1993, Task Force Ranger. Shugard Randall D., awarded posthumously, Sergeant First Class, October 3rd, 1993, Task Force Ranger. Table of Contents. Ranger Creed, I. Standing Orders, Rogers Rangers, I. Ranger History, 2. Preface, Roman numeral 4. Chapter 1, Leadership. Principles 1-1. Duties, Responsibilities, and Actions 1-2. Assumption of Command 1-8. Chapter 2, Operations. Troop Leading Procedures 2-1. Combat Intelligence 2-5. Warning Order 2-6. Operation Order 2-10. Fragmentary Order 2-14. Annexes 2-17. Coordination Checklist 2-25. Task Purpose Operation 2-30. Terrain Model 2-31. Chapter 3, Fire Support. Basic Fire Support Task Targeting and Indirection 3-1. Capabilities 3-2. Risk Estimate Distances 3-2. Target Overlays 3-3. Call for Fire 3-5. Close Air Support 3-8. Close Combat Attack Aviation 3-10. Chapter 4, Communications Equipment, Military Radios 4-1. Manpack Radio Assembly, ANPRC-119 Foxtrot, 4-4. Automated Net Control Device, 4-5. Basic Troubleshooting, 4-6. Antennas, Repairs, 4-6. Construction and Adjustment, 4-7. Field Expedient, Foxtrot Echo, Omnidirectional Antennas, 4-8. Antenna Length Planning Considerations, 4-12. Chapter 5, Demolitions. Initiating Priming Systems, 5-3. Detonation Firing Systems, 5-4. Safety, 5-4. Expedient Explosive Improvised Shape Charges, 5-4. Expedient Explosives Platter Charge, 5-5. Expedient Explosives Grape Shot Charge, 5-6. Demolition Nuts, 5-7. Minimum Safe Distances, 5-8. Breaching Charges, 5-8. Timber Cutting Charges, 5-11. Chapter 6, Movement. Formation, 6-1. Movement Techniques, 6-2. Standards, 6-4. Fundamentals, 6-4. Tactical Marches, 6-5. Movement during limited visibility conditions, 6-6. Danger Areas, 6-7. Chapter 7, Patrols. Principles, Planning, 7-1. Reconnaissance, 7-1. Security, 7-1. Control, 7-1. Common Sense, 7-1. Planning, Task Organization, 7-1. Initial Planning and Coordination, 7-3. Completion of Plan, 7-3. Reconnaissance Patrols. Fundamentals of Reconnaissance, 7-5. Task Standards, 7-5. Actions on the Objective Area Reconnaissance, 7-5. Actions on the Objective Zone Reconnaissance, 7-8. Combat Patrols. Planning Considerations, 7-9. Ambush, 7-10. Hasty Ambush, 7-11. Deliberate Point/Area Ambush, 7-12. Perform Raid, 7-15. Supporting Task, Link Up, 7-18. Debrief, 7-18. Objective Rally Point, 7-19. Patrol Base, 7-20. Movement to Contact. Techniques, 7-23. Task Standards, 7-24. Chapter 8, Battle Drills. React to Contact Visual IED Direct Fire RPG 07-3-D9501-8-1. Break Contact 07-3-Delta 9505 8-6. React to Ambush FAR 07-3-Delta 9503 8-9. React to Ambush Near 07-3-Delta 9502 8-12. Knockout Bunker 07-3-Delta 9406 8-15. Enter and Clear Room 07-4-Delta 9509 8-18. Enter a trench to secure a foothold. 07-3-Delta 9410 8-21. Breach a mined wire obstacle. 07-3-Delta 9412 8-25. React to indirect fire. 07-3-Delta 9504 8-28. Chapter 9, Military Mountaineering, Training 9-1, Dismount and Mobility 9-1, Task Organization 9-1, Rescue Equipment 9-2, Mountaineering Equipment 9-3, Anchors 9-5, Knots 9-8, Belays 9-13, Climbing Commands 9-15, Rope Installations 9-15, Rappelling 9-22, Chapter 10, Machine Gun Employment, Specifications 10-1, Definitions 10-2, Classes of automatic weapon fire 10-3, Offense 10-8, Dents 10-9, Control of machine guns 10-10, Ammunition planning 10-11, Chapter 11, Convey operations, planning 11-1, 5 phases of truck movement 11-1, Chapter 12,